What's up, everybody? Hello? Hello, welcome to the stream. How y'all doing? Let me know if you're all alive in the chat. Could say hello. What's up, Katrin? Welcome to the modeling stream. Hello, next chapter. What's up? Okay. So, quick introductions for those of you who don't know. My name is Ono, and I'll be your instructor today. I'm a student here at CADA Trumax, or just CADA now actually. Yeah, and I'll be taking you through 1.5 hours of live kind of tutorial / guide, and it's gonna be like a very introductory little mini course for modeling in Blender. So I'll be going over the very basics from like navigation to how stuff works in 3D and all that. Let me turn down the sound a little bit. yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing. And so since we're doing it live, I do encourage everybody to ask as many questions as you can, because I'm here for that reason, to answer your questions, and I'm sure everybody will get a lot more out of it. So go ahead, ask a question. If you're thinking about something, there's probably a couple other people in the chat thinking about the same thing, right? And you can also ask about the education or me personally and all that. That's all okay. So, okay. I hope you've all booted up. What's up, Kilgore Trout? Hello, Clarissa. What's up, everybody? Let me throw some hearts at you all. I hope you've all booted up Blender already, downloaded it. Give me raise your hand in the chat if you have. I have. My Blender is ready to go. I've been good. Can you explain if I'm watching first time, do I need the previous streams? Definitely not. I'll take you through the very basics. Have you used Blender before? That's a good question to ask. But no, you don't need to have any experience with Blender or 3D or the other streams or anything. It's from the very beginning. What's up, Nadia? Hello. Waving. Okay, good. Raise your hand. Okay, we all have Blender. I hope. Let me show you what it's supposed to look like. So if you don't have it open, boot it up, boot it up. Thank you. Yeah, no worries. And if you're completely new to 3D, let me know in the chat so I know. But also if I get lost or if you get lost and I explain something too fast, just let me know in the chat and I'll be happy to like explain stuff one more time. Whoops. And to all the people that are just joining in, it is the modeling stream, 1.5 hours. Let's do it together. Ask questions, all of that goodness. Alright. Okay. I'll assume we're all ready to start learning some Blender. So I'll go over basically what is on the screen first. So what do we see before we touch the keyboard? Hands off the keyboard, hands off the mouse. I mean, you can't play with it, but just to explain. So in the middle here, we have what's called our 3D viewport. And the 3D viewport is our little scene where we assemble the project that we want to work on. And we can use this for a bunch of different things. Today we're just gonna make a little scene inside of it, and I'll reveal it in a little bit. So that's a teaser for later. But yeah, this is where we have all our objects, and we can left click on certain things in here to select them. So we have a camera here, we have a cube and a light. You just left click to select. Okay. To move around, to rotate, to orbit, you click the middle mouse. Well, actually, I'll open a different version of Blender where you can see what I'm clicking. Yeah, there you go. So as you can see, cube, camera, light. And if I hold middle mouse, you can check the bottom left as well on my screen. You can see that's how I orbit. Shift middle mouse is how you pan around. Okay. You can select stuff and then you can scroll as well to zoom in and out. So shift middle mouse and scroll on the scroll wheel. You use these in combination to move around the scene. And if you ever get lost, you can click the home button on your keyboard, or you can go up to this little view menu and then click, let's say, frame all. So right there, view, frame all. If you ever get lost, you can always get back to what you're working on. Oops. Okay, I went into orthographic by accident. Is anyone this new to Blender, or do you all have a little bit of experience? Because I can speed it up a little bit if people are totally new, but I'll still go over it. So now we can move around our 3D viewport. How do we get things to move around in it? We have this little toolbar on the left, and we have some different tools here. So if we click our box and we click the move button, we get our little gizmo, and using this we can move stuff around. Okay, very handy. The shortcut for this is G. So G, and if you want to move it around on the axis, you can click G, and then you can click X, for example, or Y, or Z, and then you left click to let go. Okay, and to undo, you Control Z, just like in most other softwares. Some of you might be familiar. Okay, and then we have the rotate, and all of that is the same, except the shortcut this time is R. And same again, we can click R, X, Y, and Z. Okay, so G to move it around, R to rotate it. Middle mouse to rotate ourselves. Scale, all the same. So if we undo this, put it to the beginning, you can scale up, to the side, towards us, and S is the hotkey for that. And you can also use Z, Y, and X if you're a hotkey fiend. Now you don't have to use hotkeys, but if you want to, you can. And it's a nice thing to get used to it. But if you're completely new, you might be a little bit more comfortable with the buttons out here. Okay. Okay. We have some other stuff too, but that's not really super important. I'll get into all of that once we know how to move. Okay, fair enough. So we'll get into the stuff as we start using it, right? On the right here, we have what's called an outliner. And here you can select different stuff in our UI. So let's say we couldn't find our cube, we can select it right here. Okay. And here we have some more complex sort of actions of Blender. The stuff that's under my camera, and if we end up using some of that, I'll also be going over that as we're using it. I hope everybody is with me so far, because I want to get into modeling as quick as possible. Whoop. So let me open up today's concept. Hold up. Let's make a magic. Hell yeah. Okay, let's go. So this right here is gonna be today's concept. And it's a little bit similar of one of my first streams where we did a noodle shop. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to go revisit and see what's up, see if we've improved, see if we can do something different this time. So I'm not sure if any of y'all have been here for the noodle shop, but I'm gonna do something similar again today. Cute, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, like usual now, I'll post this as well in the Discord. If you wanna look at it on your own, like second monitor or something like that, I'll put it in the 3D Bootcamp chat right here. So whoop. So you can go here and check it out. I'll also be putting it up on my screen. Now I'll be taking you all through like a step-by-step on how to do this, and then we'll probably end up texturing next time on the next bootcamp. So today we're just going to be focusing on all the shapes and stuff like that. And we can already start working on the shapes, even though all I've been going over is sort of the moving and scaling and rotating and all that. It's a super beginner friendly stream. So when we start modeling, like I said, we're going to be looking at all the shapes. So we need to train our brain to be focused on all the shapes, all the forms, and not get distracted by a bunch of other stuff that we see in the image. So a good way to do that is to break down an image into larger chunks. So looking at this, what is sort of one of the largest chunks that we can start off of? Or we could probably make a big cube for this shop here, or a cube for the floor. So if we go ahead and start with the floor, we have something to put all our objects on top of. So all you're gonna do is selecting your middle cube here and just clicking S and Z to scale it flat. Or you can also use the gizmos out here on the left. Boop, go ahead. And now at this point, you know, if I'm going a little bit too slow for some people, feel free to speed ahead. It's totally fine. You don't have to follow me step by step. But if you are new to Blender, you're more than welcome to follow me step by step. And if I lose you, do let me know, right? So right here, we can scale it on 2 axes, or we can just scale it up and then scale it flat, right? So there's many ways to make this cube. If you want to scale it on 2 axes, you can click these little squares here, and that will scale on the other axis than the blue one, so the 2 other axes, right? And the hotkey for that is S and then Shift Z. Okay. So I hope everybody has their sphere or cube scaled now, and then we can move on. So I think the next biggest thing we can see is this little shop here. So we'll just make a cube to put in its place. We don't see the dimension. Chapter, what do you mean by that? Could you explain the question a little bit more? Or could you explain what you mean? You don't see the dimension. Okay. So, oh, you guys don't. Oh, you don't have the cube. Okay. So, if your cube is lost or you've deleted it or something like that, ways to add a new mesh or new geometry. Can you open the end panel? There it is. So a way to open it or open a new geometry or a new cube, add it, is in the add menu, top left. There's a menu to add different things in Blender, right? You have your lights in here if you need them, you have your cameras, and you have your mesh. And in here you can add a cube. Okay? So you just go add, mesh, and then you have your different objects in here. Does that make sense? I hope that's working for you. So, yeah, no worries, you got it. So just take that cube and flatten it like a pancake and then add a new cube for the main house here. Okay, so we can move it in place. We can S, Y, or we can use this out here to scale it a little bit. Okay, as X, we can use that too. And then we can sort of scale it to what we imagine, like how large we imagine it to be. Something like that, perhaps. But you know what? It probably goes all the way out to the edge here. Maybe this needs to be a little bit flatter and the other thing a little bit taller. And that's why we go ahead and we do this right now, where we can quickly change stuff around because it's just cubes basically. Okay, so that's a decent starting point. We could figure out about sort of where the window is supposed to go now, so we can add another cube for this little table here. Okay, so same thing again, we add mesh cube, and as we keep doing this we start building sort of the image of our scene. So S, oh, you guys can't see the button presses if I put it there. Where should I put the column? I'll put it up here actually. I hope that's okay. So yeah, as I was saying, once we start putting down all these base shapes, the ones that we can see, will sort of get the, like our head will start to understand the space, right? And it'll be easier to work with. If we're just working from nothing, it can be very confusing to understand, like the scale of things and all those things. So we go here, we put it in, and now we know, okay, there's supposed to be a window somewhere around here. And then we can adjust accordingly. Okay. And putting this in, this whole store felt a little bit too short and all that, right? We could put in a box, $40, very fitting, a box for the bucks. And now after this box we'll move on to something more interesting than cubes, but this is just to get you all familiar with how to put boxes inside your scene. Add mesh cube, and then you move it around. Click RZ to rotate it a little bit. So that kind of feels sort of like the right space, yeah? Something like that. Okay, is there something else that we can do? Well, how about we add this lantern here, just to get the scale of it, right? So obviously this lantern is not a cube. So what do we do when we add something that's not a cube? How do we manage that? Well, Onua, you only taught us how to add cubes. Well, if you look in the add menu, everybody, there's also something called a cylinder. Blender is amazing and 3D is amazing. So if you take the cylinder, you can put it where this thing is supposed to be. And then we can refine it a little bit later. So for now, we can just scale it. S, Shift Z. You can scale it on 2 axes, or you can click the scale and click this little cube down here. Scale it on 2 axes. You can also just scale it up and then scale it down. Oops. So many ways to do the same thing, it's just about what fits you. Okay, you can click G to move it over, or obviously you can move it, use the tool up here. Okay, let's get it into place. Now, if you ever get this situation where stuff looks a little bit jagged and flat, something that will help 99% of the time is clicking it, right-clicking it, and clicking Shade Auto Smooth. And it'll just help you smooth things in the way that you might expect them to be smoothed. Okay. Great. So far, so good. We're starting to understand the space a little bit. So now you might be wondering, well, okay, we added cubes, we added the cylinder. We could probably add a sphere too, if we really thought about it, because there's a sphere in here too. And some other shapes, like if it was a donut shop, sure, we could add a bunch of donuts and all that. But what do we do when our shape is none of all of that? Okay, and this is where like 90% of your time in Blender spent modeling will be. You'll be editing a base shape, okay? So if we look on our reference, you can see that the roof kind of is slanted. So we can't just add a cube to slant it, that doesn't make sense. We have to edit the cube that's already here. And to do that, we have to go into edit mode. So there's different modes inside Blender. Right now we're in the object mode, which means that we're picking different objects in our scene. And if we want to edit an object, we have to select it and then switch to the edit mode. Okay? Now in here, we get a bunch of points. So any model or mesh in 3D is a bunch of points connected, and then you fill in the surface between these points with a face. Okay? So a cube has four points on each side, and then it has a face in between those points, right? And we can move all these points, that's how we edit. So if we select a point, we can click G to move it. And then if we go out of edit mode again, we can do it with tab or just click up here and go to object mode. We will now have edited our shape. We can control Z to undo all of that. Okay. So we can click the points, but we can also select edges. So you can click up here. 2 is the hotkey for that, or you can click. And now we can select an edge and we can move that around, or we can select a face and move that around. And all of these are super useful. So for now, all we need to do is select this edge, click our move tool, or just click G and Z, and then move this edge down until we get the slant that we sort of want. And then we can select the back one and move that up a little bit, and then we get that slanted roof. See? It's that easy. That's 90% of modeling. It gets more and more complex as you go, but it's easy enough to get into. Okay. So now, how do we make a window interesting? Well, we can't move all of these points into the shape of a window because that makes no sense. Like, how would you even, that is impossible. So what we need to do is we need to add more points. So we can delete a face. Okay, we can delete points. So click delete to delete. We can delete the vertices. We can click 3, face mode up here, and then click delete faces. And now we have a hole. So what we're thinking is we probably need to delete a face here to create a window. Alright? But we can't because we need some points there. So there's a bunch of ways to add points to a mesh inside Blender, and they're all out here. Not all of them, but a lot of them are out here. Okay, so you have some different tools and we can go over them as we use them. I'll go over some of them right now because they're cool. So something called a loop cut. It just goes around your object and adds points. So if we do 2 loop cuts like that, well, we can go back to our move tool. We can select like here and say delete faces, okay? We have other tools like inset faces. If we click that, it'll sort of do this. And if you're very quick, you might think, oh wait a minute, that's kind of all we need. We kind of need to make a hole inside the mesh, right? So I'll show you some more of these as we need to use them. But for now, you can go into face select mode, select our front facade, and then inset. So let's inset to about where this line hits the countertop, and click delete. But that deletes way too much. So now after we've added the geometry, we can select an edge. So click 2 or select up here, go to your move tool, and then move this edge up. Okay, and just to see what that looks like, this is what we have, right? So now we have a face in the middle here that we can click delete on, and then we get our window. So let me move this thing back. 3, click the face, delete, and now we have a window. Great, that's exactly what we needed, okay? And while we're at it, we might as well make this cutout here as well. So we can click I to inset, oops, I to inset, or you can use the tool, both work fine. Okay, and maybe we can move this one down instead this time to make like a doorway. Select the face, delete, boom. There we go, and now we have a cutout. And we basically keep doing this kind of stuff and introduce more and more tools, and then eventually you will see ways to start combining all these tools and create really complex and cool shapes. So for now, let's just try something else, okay? Something you can sort of understand for now. So let's try to create this little base shape that's around here. So we could pull out a new cube and put it and try to match what we already have, but a quicker way is to duplicate this cube that we have and use that. So Shift D is the key to do that. Shift D, okay, and then we duplicate. So automatically Blender will start moving it for you. If you don't want that, you can click Shift D and then escape. You can move it out and scale it in. Okay, and you see how it goes up a little bit on the reference. We could go in and like scale it, but then it scales at the bottom too, and we might not want that. We could move it up a little bit and scale it and stuff like that, which kind of works fine. But we can also use our new skills. We can go into edit mode, select the top face. Oh, have this. Select the top face and move that up. Very skilled. Okay, we can duplicate this one. Click X to move it on the X axis and move it over to the other side. great. We can duplicate this, click escape, we can click R, and then we can try to eyeball it on the Z axis, but we can also type in 90 degrees up here on the Z rotation. So up here you have a bunch of information about the object you're trying to edit or move. So you can type in 90, or you can also click RZ90. You can move this into place. Okay, Shift D, escape, move it over. Great, and now we can go in and we can connect the corners. So you can go into edit mode. Boop. You can go into edit mode here as well. So I'm just using tab to go in and out of edit mode. Tab, tab, tab. If you don't want to go in and out all the time, you can also shift click 3 different, in this case, objects at the same time, and then go into edit mode. And now you're editing all of them. And then you can move the corners into place. Like that. There you go. And of course there are quicker and smarter ways of doing all of these things. But that's not the point of the stream, it's just to get everybody introduced and familiar with Blender. Okay, we can move everything into place here. Then we end up with something like that. How's it going for you all? Anyone getting super confused or something like that? I hope I'm not going too fast. Or am I going too slow as well? That's also a valid opinion. I hope you all can follow along though. Maybe better show the snap from beginning. Yeah, so I think what chapter is talking about is one of the cool tools in Blender called Snap. Okay, so up here you can snap to a bunch of different things. You can snap to this grid that you see in the background, but you can also snap to like a vertex. So we can take this edge, oops, and we can, hold on, we can snap it right there. Okay, so we can align those that way if we wanted to. But you know, as we keep going, we'll learn more and more complex operations, and those are all fine. But it's not really like a how to get super good at modeling kind of stream. It's more of like a super introduction stream, right? Like so everybody can follow along. And if you're really like, the right way to do this would be none of this, right? It would actually be to shift duplicate this, and then you can just go into face select mode, right? And then insert like that, and then select this loop around here and then extrude up, and then you have that, right? Something like this. And then you would have a whole box. If you're just trying to keep it simple, but oh, go back. Okay, anyways, we keep it going, we keep moving. We're gonna make a whole scene on this stream. So we have about an hour left. So where do we go from here? Well, we start adding all the stuff that we haven't added yet. So let's add a little stool here. That would be interesting, and in our limits. So I'll just pull a cube aside here, and I will start modeling out this little stool. We can do it with cubes first, and then we can start adjusting the shapes. So we have this rounded corner on here, and we can do that too with our editing tool. So we just go into edit mode here, and we can select an edge, and then we can use the bevel tool. So if we bevel, we can add segments here with the little menu. There's a little pop-up as soon as you click bevel. So bevel, Control B is the hotkey. You can add some segments right here. You see the bevel is a little bit uneven, and the reason is, essentially what we've done is we've taken a cube and then we've scaled it. So if we bevel this, it looks like that, and then if we scale it out, it starts to get a little bit stretched, right? So sometimes you need to be a little bit careful about the cubes that you import and when you scale them and when you don't. So you could go into edit mode, select everything, and then just do your operation. And then you won't have any scale on the cube. Okay, and then you can go in and then you can bevel fine, and everything will be even. Or if you do scale it, so if you do scale it, you can click Control A and then hit Apply All Transforms. So it will zero out all of these transforms here. Or you can click Control A and just zero out the scale. And if you don't quite understand that, it's not that big of a deal. It's totally fine. Just try to get the cube, select all the edges with the shift and left click, and then B to bevel. Okay. Control B to bevel, or use the tool. You can scale it down a little bit. Right click, shade auto smooth, and then you have this kind of nice beveled wooden surface. Okay, we can get those nice legs as well. So a way to start here would be to make a plane, and you might be a little bit confused about that. So why do we make a plane if this is obviously, again, some cubes stuck together, kind of like they have thickness? So we can rotate this up 90 degrees. Click 90 up here. And the reason I make a plane is that we can sort of shape this. So scale X, or use the tool again. So most important is to get the right shape, and then we can always scale this object that we're working on up or down in the future. So here might be an opportunity to use the loop cut. So Control R is the key, or you can use the loop cut tool out here. Put them in, and then if we make the shape of this, you can imagine we can just delete the face that's right here in the center if we can somehow get that. And we can. We put down some loop cuts here and there. You can now see, oh, I still have snapping on, that we have two faces here that we can delete. Just go into face select mode. You can shift select both of them, click delete, and then click faces. And now we have this H shape here, and then we can use the extrude function to get some thickness on that. There we go. And if you really want to be fancy, well, you could go into all of these corners and use Control B to bevel them a little bit. Okay, shade auto smooth. Okay, that's great. And then we can duplicate that and move it over. And now we have that chair. We can click B to get a box, or just, yeah, left click and drag around all the stuff. Or shift click it all, scale it down. Okay, we can rotate it a little bit together as well. And as we start getting more and more stuff in our scene, we'll see what fits and what doesn't. We can move stuff around accordingly. And now we can even take our whole chair and we can click Shift D to duplicate it. and move it over a little bit and maybe rotate this tiny tad too. People following along so far? Let me know, let me know. Okay. Well, let's see if we can keep going. Almost, that's great. Yeah. So what I just did is a little bit of a simple way to, or it's a little bit of a hacky way or a trick. You can extrude your whole shed, but without going much in. You can just click scale. And now it's like you made basically a copy of your little shed to give it some thickness, and then you scaled it in a little bit. You don't exactly need to do that, but I did that. So now it has a little bit of thickness. Again, not the ideal way, but it's a way that will work for us right now. We don't need to be too perfect about things. We're just learning, starting out. So let's see if we can work on this little crate here then. So we can pull out the crate that we have. And then let's think about it. So what's the easiest way to go about it here? I'm thinking that, well, this crate is literally a bunch of cubes stuck together. So the easiest way might be to stick a bunch of cubes together. Sometimes it's that simple, really. Okay. So let's just do that. Okay, let's add a bunch of cubes here. And now we can just use our main cube here to sort of judge off of. So we can just flatten this board, move it up. I'm just gonna put it inside. So the idea is that we sort of assemble our whole crate here, and then we just delete the main cube because we don't need it anymore. Okay. We can duplicate this plank down 3 times. And then we can shift select all of them and duplicate them and then move them over. Then we can shift select again all of these, duplicate them, click RZ90 to move them all. It's pretty cool, huh? Maybe we can just scale them up a little bit for simplicity's sake. Not ideal again, because they do get thicker. And then scale them on the y-axis. So to do that, you can just rotate like this. So hold down Control to get like incremental rotation. There you go, that's 90 degrees. You can scale all of it out, and then you can scale all of it in. Scale these up a little bit too. It's fine. And now we can maybe take this and make it our bottom. Okay, so let's just say this crate has a bit of a solid bottom. So you can take it and move it down to the bottom here. Okay, all we need are these things in the corners. We can take one of these cubes, scale it in, and let's just make this kind of a post corner just for simplicity's sake here. Okay. There's no need to follow what I do click by click. There's many different ways to get the same kind of cube, right? You just gotta scale it and move it and rotate it and all that. So now we have a box. Okay, I would say that passes as a box. We can select the whole thing. Oops. And then scale it down a little bit maybe. To flatten it, and then we can move it. RZ, and now we have a really nice crate right here. But the scene is actually getting along. We're starting to see the things that we have in the picture. If you have something in the picture where you're like, oh my god, I want to know how to make that, let me know and I'll see if I can fit it in. Obviously the goal is to try to make the whole thing, but we'll see how far we get. So I guess next we might as well go for the flower pot, because it's right there next to everything else. So we add a cylinder, we move it over, because the cylinder is like the closest shape I can imagine to this flower pot. Probably scale it down a little bit. Okay, we go into face select mode, and then we just, so edit mode, face, scale the top up a little bit, and then you get this kind of tapered cylinder. Right click, shade auto smooth. Just keep clicking tab in and out of edit mode in case you get lost in it. So we have this sort of border that extends out. How are we gonna go about that? Well, you might realize that we're gonna use the loop cut tool, because it's like a circle around our little cylinder here. So we mark about where it is that we want it to go out. Okay. Then we can go ahead. We can go ahead and click B, and we can select all of this up here. We can rotate around the camera a little bit. Then we can click E to extrude, and then let go, and then we can scale like this. So if you got lost in what just happened, we clicked E and we're basically extruding, but instead of extruding, we just click E and then escape to let go. We can now scale this extrusion that we've just made. See? So I messed up a little bit here, but it should make sense. Make sure you select everything. E, escape. Then we can scale it. We could just click S to scale it. Or we can click this little square here to get a little bit nicer of a look. We can select the whole thing and scale it up. Or maybe just the bottom has to move down. And we can click the top and we can inset it, because we want something to squeeze in. We want this little border on here, and you'll get used to all these tools the more you use them. Okay, in, and now we can extrude down. Maybe scale a little bit. Okay, and then we have a really nice flower pot. We can move this over. Okay, what else, what else? What can we figure out, what can we do? How about we make this little fish pole here? That seems sort of interesting. How would you do something like that? Well, let's try it out. So we can add a cylinder here. Scale it down just to make a pole. Okay. Shade auto smooth again. And let's add a plane. Okay. Because these fish are kind of thin, so we can just keep it like that. Rotate this with 90. move our plane up. Okay, can scale it down a little bit. Now we can go into edit mode, and this is going to be all about how we manipulate the edges, right? So we can move this out a little bit. And now if we start, because we can see the tail is a little bit thinner. Yeah, the tails are a little bit thinner than the rest of the body. We start scaling this, well, the end is also a bit thinner than the middle, so this won't work. Because we can't scale both of them, then we're just going to keep going until we have nothing, right? So we need to add some more geometry with the loop cut. Okay, so we can just put one maybe like here, where we think the tallest point is, and then we can scale stuff in and out. And we can see it's kind of has a little mouth here. So if we add a loop cut here, we can scale this down. Then we can add another loop cut, depends on how much detail we want, right? That's all up to you. Then maybe we can add one here for good measure to sort of round out the shape. Okay. Then give it a little tail. Okay, then you have something like that. Now let's say I thought, okay, I don't really, like I would want to sort of scale down the whole tail end of it. How do we do that? Well, we can use this tool up here called proportional editing. It's super useful. So with that, if we click S, we can scale a whole section of the mesh. If you start scrolling on your scroll wheel after you've clicked S, you can increase or decrease this sort of area of influence. So with proportional editing, you click S, Z, and then you can squeeze in this whole tail. Or you can also move. Oops. So we can click X and you can move the whole thing in a little bit. And you can get the desired shape of your fish, and you can just duplicate this down 3 times. Okay. You can select the whole thing and move it over. Great. So try to lean it up against this, and this is where hotkeys are real nice. See, I'm just clicking R and G, R and G. Okay, maybe we can rotate it a little bit. Like that. Fantastic. And I see I made the whole thing a little bit too big, so I might just scale it all down a little bit. Now let's try to work at this roof here. A corrugated roof. Are we ready for it? Are we that brave? Raise your hand if you're brave. I am brave. So I'll add a plane here. So let's just figure out how we're gonna make this corrugated look here before we actually start rotating and moving stuff into place. So we can get it close and we can get like sort of the measurements. So for this, just go into edit mode straight away. Okay, you can click 7 to go into orthographic view if you want, or you can just eyeball it, that's fine too. Okay, so about that size, and we can move it out the way, and now we can do something unheard of. We can add many loops at once, okay? So if we add, I don't know, let's say we add 30 loops, okay? Now what we can do is we can select every other loop that we've added if we're smart, and then we can just move them up, and then we get that corrugated look. Super cool. So there's a bunch of smart ways to select every other We are not gonna be smart for this one. We're just gonna brute force it. Okay. Oops. If you do end up selecting stuff by accident, you can click B to box select. And if you hold middle mouse, it will deselect instead of add. Okay. So I accidentally messed up there. You're supposed to shift click all the way through, and I might have control clicked. So go ahead and do that like this. Wow, and then we can move them all up. Magical. Now I don't want the end to stick out like this, so I can select it, click delete, and then see delete edges, delete vertices, because we wanna, yeah, we can just select all of these and click delete edges. Or if we delete these two vertices, that's also gonna work for us. Okay, we can move it into place. RX. We can even scale it if we want. Maybe we can make it a little bit longer here. We can go into the orthographic view if we feel like it. So that's 3 on your numpad. Scale it accordingly. And there we go, we have a corrugated roof. Amazing. Could start adding some detail to this lantern here if we wish. So we can move it out for a second, and then out here in your menu there's a little arrow here. You can click N to get it out, and then you can just left click and drag on all your rotation and 0 them. Okay, just click and click 0. Okay, so let's start with what we see. Well, we have this sort of rounded shape, and then goes in and then up. In means inset, and then up means extrude. So inset, extrude, and it has this little ridge here, so we can inset, extrude. It kind of goes up here, so maybe we scale it up. We can inset, and then maybe like, I don't know, a wire attaches here, something like that. Alright. Whole thing should be a little bit fatter. Okay, sure, something like that. And then it has sort of this rounded edge, and it goes into like this little paper thing. So we want something to go in. We can go to face select, select everything around our little lantern, and click I to inset here, E to extrude, and then yeah, okay, E to extrude, click escape to let go, and then you can just scale that in a little bit, and then we get that. Okay. Now we need to round, so what we do when we need to round is we bevel. So you can select all these edges and click Ctrl B, and if you don't remember all the hotkeys, that's fine. All the tools are out here on the left. Okay, so if we don't want to go around and select every single edge, we can use a hotkey, which is Alt left click to select all the lines that are forming a big line. Okay. So you can select an edge loop, this is called. So it's a whole loop of edges, a bunch of edges that together make a ring, okay? Or go in a circle. So Ctrl B here, and Ctrl B here. Same down here, Alt click, Ctrl B, Alt click, Ctrl B. Then we can round off this top too. Control B. Do you have any issues with Blender 422? I went directly for 432, if that's what you mean, because 432 is the newest one right now. It's very laggish. I haven't had that, but I mean, honestly, most of the time when I do my personal work, I use 367. So it's not too bad to be like a couple versions behind. There's no harm in it, unless you absolutely need one of the new features. Right click, shade auto smooth, we already did that. Now we can move this little lantern into place. Okay, great. So, well, let's at least, before we run out of time, make some like noodle bowls and that kind of stuff, because it is a noodle shop. It would be quite sad if we didn't have some noodle bowls at least. So, it might be hard to see what the shape is initially, but we know it's circular. So I think if we start with a cylinder, we can just squash it down. Shade auto smooth. Go into edit mode. A to select everything. Alt A to unselect everything. To select everything. SZ to scale it on the Z axis. Squish it into a cylinder. Okay. We can inset, because we need to go in here. You see the shape? It goes in. And then after we go in, we go up. And then after we go up a little bit more, but this time we scale that. And we go up a little bit more, and we scale it a little bit more. Then maybe one last time. Okay. And then we go up on the rim, and then we go in and down. Further down. A little bit further down. Okay. So once you get the hotkeys down, you can start doing stuff very fast. Okay. If we want to round these edges, we can. So edge mode, Alt, left click, and then we can also Shift, Alt, left click to select two at the same time, even three if we want to, and then Control B to bevel all of these. Then we get that. We can move this into place. Okay, we can just duplicate it to get a new one over here. Maybe this desk should go inside a little bit. And the whole thing should be a little bit further down. Let's move the balls. Then we can scale this in a little bit. Okay, great. We can make this little blockade thing here. I don't actually know what that's called, but it's there. So that one is simple enough. We can get that done with a couple planes. So we just move that over, scale it down a little bit. This is just our scaling and rotating and all that. This one goes under our roof. Our roof could be a little bit bigger, you know, to shelter. Okay. Then we just duplicate this with a little bit of space between each of them. Okay, there we go. Maybe we can rotate them a little bit just so they don't look so perfect. start making some stuff inside the store. We can add a little shelf here so we can duplicate the shelf that we already have. Scale it down some, move it over. I don't know what to add there, maybe let's add a vase or something. We made a ramen bowl, so surely we can figure out how to make a vase too. So we just go ahead, Shift A, start with a cylinder, move it over, scale it down. Okay, Shift Auto Smooth, and I'll start going over stuff a little bit quicker now. And if you do miss stuff, feel free to ask. If you're watching on YouTube later, well, you can always go back and rewatch what I do. You see all my hotkeys down here. But again, it's not about following the hotkeys one-to-one, because there's many different ways of getting to the same result. It's all about sort of understanding how I think about stuff. So you gotta go in and then down. So we have a quick little vase here. Maybe we can add a picture frame. So go into edit mode, scale the whole thing down. So let's say this is our picture. Then we want to add a picture frame, so we duplicate it. Okay. Can scale it. Okay, like that. We can insert now. And then we can Alt select not only an edge loop, but also a poly loop. Okay, so a loop of squares, a loop of quads. Okay, so we can extrude that. Now we have sort of a picture in a picture frame. And it's nice to have these as two separate ones, because we're going to start painting on the next session of Bootcamp. So if we have those separately, we can, will help us in the future. So at this point, you don't exactly need to follow what I'm doing. If you're sort of getting the base principles, you can just work on whatever it is that you find interesting in the scene. In about half an hour, I'll call the stream, and I would love to look at what everybody has been doing then. So see about, like, you know, just try to get as much stuff as you can done on the scene before the time is up. So let's see what we have down here on the table. We have some sticks. Some sushi sticks. That one should be pretty simple. It's just like a tapered cylinder. And that's the thing about so right click, shade auto smooth is the thing about observing. You gotta make sure that you actually make them a little bit tapered, even though they honestly look like just sticks in the reference. We don't have to be the reference, we could be better than the reference. Oops, so RX 270. Over, scale it down. Right. So like this, Shift D to duplicate it over. Get that. You can add some sushi now. This looks like some kind of cake, maybe. We can add this tray with stuff too, tray with food and all that. So we can add a little cube here, maybe just move it up, scale it down. Feel free to ask questions if you get stuck on an object. Even if it's an object that I'm not exactly working on right now, I'll be more than happy to help you out with it if you get in trouble. If there's an object you just would really want to see me do in this scene, also write it in the chat and I'll be happy to show you how to do it. Oh, there's supposed to be a window here with like a tree growing out of it. I didn't actually quite catch that. can, however, make some kind of leafage here. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, why not? So we can start out with a cube here. You might ask, well, how in the world is a cube gonna make a leaf? Are you sure that's the right choice? I'm not sure, but I think so. So we put a loop cut in the middle, kind of like with our fish, so we can taper this. So this is gonna be a single petal, okay? And we can click Shade Smooth this time. So this will try to make it as smooth as possible, even though, I mean, it's a cube, like how smooth can you make it? But it's fine, we won't notice it when it becomes very small. Also shade auto smooth. Okay, duplicate this around. So you can click numpad 7 to go into the top view. G, move it over. Try to get about 5. I think that's the right amount for a sakura flower. Okay, this is fine. And you might think, oh my god, that looks terrible. Well, but not really. Once you're down here, you won't really notice it. Okay, that type of scale. You can select all of them and then proportional edit. And just select somewhere in the middle. And then push it down like that. Okay, so you get that curve on it. You can select all of them now. And we can just click Shift J to join them all together to like one mesh, okay? If you want to, you can click Shade Smooth, we can scale it down. And now we can make a little bunch, okay? So Shift D, rotate them around, Shift D, Shift D. Essentially, just trying to duplicate them around to make like a little bush of sakura leaves. Now this will be interesting because I'm not 100% sure about how it will look in the end, but I think it might look pretty alright. Okay, I'm just trying to make a ball or something like that. And now we can select all of them here. And then we can shift duplicate these together a little bit. Okay, so now we have this here. B to box select everything. And now we can take this and duplicate it over. And then we just make sure to rotate them a little bit as we place them, just so it doesn't become super obvious that they're all duplicates of each other. Okay, just rotate them a little bit. What mouse you suggest buying for Blender? I don't even know where I got my mouse that I use at home. I just use it because it's comfortable. And that's the best advice I can give you. For Blender, the best mouse you can get is one that's just comfortable. One that doesn't hurt your hand, one that you like to use. You don't need to be very, how should I say it? You need to be worried about the performance of the mouse, you know, like if it feels nice in your hand, it's good enough for Blender. There's no point in thinking more about it than that, in my opinion. like I've used a lot of good mice in my time. A lot of performance mice, I always use office mice and all that. But the reality is, like, it doesn't really matter much, you know. The most important thing is that it feels good in your hand, and then you'll be fine with it. For keyboards, you can just, and then middle mouse to deselect. So what happened is I box selected here, okay, and it goes all the way through and selects everything on the other side here, but then I can box select and then middle mouse drag to deselect the rest. Then I can delete it to make a little hole here, okay. Texture already. Already leaves your duplicate texture already. No, this is just a mesh that we made, and then we will texture it at a later stage. Okay. Next bootcamp we'll texture it. If we have time now, we might give them a color, and then we will texture stuff next bootcamp. Okay. So. Oh, I don't know why Blender is doing this. This is a new feature. To wonder why. Okay. So if that happens, you just have to shift click one of the pedals. Okay, it's a little bit too dense in these areas, not spotty enough. So just go in and delete a little bit of these leaves and all that. So we tried to make it not look super duplicated everywhere, but it kind of happens. So we have to go in there, and we have to delete some of the stuff that we put down, which is fine. Okay. You can also box select and copy some of the stuff. Deselect the stuff that we don't want. Okay, let's just keep it for there. And now we have some leaves on our roof. That's fine. And if you didn't quite get the leaves too, that's more than okay, you know. So we have about 15 minutes left of the stream. So we should just keep going and see how much stuff we can get done before the time is up. So I'll say maybe the last thing I'll do is I'll add some of this food stuff here, and then I'll see if I can add some materials too. Okay. So let's see if we can make an egg. So one egg, it's an interesting shape. We can get it by using proportional editing. We can select an edge here, and then we can scale it in a little bit, right? So we can use this mouse wheel to change a proportional edit. Now we have the shape of an egg. Okay. We can scale, so disable proportional edit. We can scale this in. We can add an edge loop with Control R. We can scale this out. Shade auto smooth, and then we have an egg. Don't mind the bottom. You know, even if we wanted to, we could totally do the yolk. Oh. Okay, it's not gonna be a perfect yolk, but that's all right, all good. So I to insert, proportional edit. There we go. Okay. Let's just say we're happy with that. So that's an egg with a yolk. It's good enough for us. Move that over into our ramen bowl. And you know, another good way to make that yolk would have been, you know, if we just had, let's say this was our egg shape. Instead of going through all that trouble, I do apologize if you're watching on YouTube and you just went through all that trouble. We could have just added a sphere. And that might have given us an even better result, right? So you can just add a sphere, because the yolk is a sphere. Just add it in the middle here, and right click and shade smooth, and then you have a yolk. Could be an avocado too. Depends on how you texture it. But I guess a yolk is more like, you know, you could flatten it a little bit, because it's cut. Like, right, the egg is cut. For next time. Fine, let's add a little tray with some meats and stuff, it looks like. Or maybe it's just straight up sushi, I'm not sure. It looks like some meats perhaps. Okay, scale this out. I wonder what that is. Maybe mayonnaise? I'm not sure. But, you know, for the next stream we can play around with all these things by coloring them. So we can use proportional edit to get these kind of rounded shapes a little bit here. Not exactly sure what it's supposed to be. Maybe like a piece of meat. Really, it's fine, but it's just filler for now. Oh, whoops, the reference is under my picture. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, so we have a couple of slices of pork maybe in our soup. Then we can make a tall one here for the back. Okay. Well, for the noodles, we might just put in a sphere here, stretch it out. That looks like a noodle, right? Am I right, people? That looks like a noodle. And just duplicate it around a little bit. Yeah, just duplicate it a little bit. Select all of it, Control J to join them together, and then we can scale them down. Put it in the bowl, and then we can go into edit mode. The proportional editing tool, we can sort of swoosh these noodles around a little bit. Okay, if we can just keep moving them, we can sort of get some sort of shape, right? These might get covered with a bunch of like toppings, so you know, we can also rotate with the proportional edit. Okay. Who's the youngest student that's ever been at the academy? I'm not sure. While I've been here, there have been people that were 19 and 18, I think was the youngest I've seen. Okay, we can add some meat cubes into this thing. There's also a lot of like yeah, older people. I myself, I am 27 now. Just recently I became 27 years old. Can you believe it? Damn. Just putting a bunch of stuff in our soup. We can make some scallions. So we can make a ring here. So that was a circle. I to, oh, it's not gonna work. So E to extrude, let go of that, and then scale it in. So E and then scale it in is basically what we did. Okay, so E, let go, scale it in. Okay, edit mode, E, let go, scale it in. Then we can select all of it and extrude it up. Shade smooth, and then we have like a little scallion thing. Okay. But it needs to be taller. There we go. Just put them in. Duplicate them around these scallions. Of course, you can make sure all these ingredients, they don't go into each other and all that if you wanted to take a close-up picture. But right now I'm just rushing it because we're getting close to the end of the stream, people. So if you want to take a picture of what you have, about now is the time. Quickly before I go, I'll just show you all. So this is a very useful tool for the outliner. We have so many cubes now here. Oh wow. We can find our cube here and we can shift select in our outliner. And we can see where is the first petal at. So all of these are petals, huh? So looks like 114 is the first petal, and then we can shift select down. Okay. Just go down, shift select. Okay, there we go. And then we can click Ctrl J to combine all these, and there we go. So now we have like a petal object. And after the stream, because I'll have to go soon, I hope I could join an academy in a few years because I'm only 13. Yeah, I mean, definitely go for it. Practice already, you know. Start practicing, get good. There's also lots of information online. So for the people working on your scene, you can even do this after I've gone off stream. And I'll go more into this on the next stream for the texturing, but you can select an object in your scene, go to the material tab here. Let me get out of here for a second so you can see it. There's a material tab here. Okay, so you can add new material. And there's a color slider right here. So if we go into the rendered view, you see we can give our things a little bit of color. Very cool. So okay. So We can add some lights here. So Shift A, like we're used to, and then we can add some lights. And we can add a little sunlight here. Make it a little bit warm. Maybe we should make that a moonlight, huh? Yeah, let's make it a moonlight. So there's different types of lights. There's a spotlight, and it will kind of light a flat area. So we can put that up in the roof, as if there's like a little ceiling light here. We can make that orangish, like a very warm color. We can tone down these lights so it's kind of maybe like a moonlight scene. Then we can increase the power of this thing here. We can add a spotlight. There's so many different lighting options, and this is honestly one of my favorite parts, is lighting. So you can just slide it up here. You can do a little moonlight, cold light here. And then this can go behind and create a rim light. Some different colors in there, and then once you're ready to render out, there's this render tab here. So I've been doing Blender for 4 years. Oh wow, so you started when you're like 9 years old? That's crazy. Hats off to you, man. That's awesome. Yeah, so when you're ready to render, you go into the tab here, and there's a cycles render engine. You can click it, then you get that nice light. So I'm gonna move this one a little bit back. Okay, and the stream will start lagging because it'll be using my PC resources. If you have a GPU, you can switch it to that and it'll go way faster. Okay. So let's say that is what we want. And if it's a little bit noisy, you can lower the noise threshold here. So you can disable all the wires and stuff here. And then you can just take a screenshot of that and post it on the Discord, because I'll be going through the submissions now. So on the Discord, CADA students, right here. I'd love for everybody to post whatever they did tonight. And, you know, it doesn't have to be done. I just like looking at stuff, so if you have something, please do post it right here. I do enjoy looking at what everybody has been making. If you need an invite to the Discord, here's an invite for people. You can join the Discord right there and post what you've been making today, or no, in general. Okay, so I'm guessing this is Rand Vici from the stream. Oh, it's very good. I mean, you being only 13 and you're making that kind of stuff, that is nice. Doing freelance as a 13-year-old. Very cool. Do you have some other stuff? It's very nice. Very, very cool, man. I like the presentation. Very nice presentation. Are you using some kind of HDRI for the lighting, or do you have your own light set up? Very nice, man. I like all the texturing. It's really elevating your modeling. Get some nice textures and simple models and all that. Wow, Katrin, very nice. Good job on that. Hold up, let me give you a heart for sharing that. We do like when people share art here. Very nice job, Katrin. Clap, clap, clap. Have your own lighting set up. That's cool, man. Very good job on this, Katrin. Gets it. Hey, it's all good, man. Always feel free to like post whatever it is that you have. There's a lot of posts on here that are midways in. It's always fun to see. And you can always work on it after the stream too. Come back next time. So I'll take a picture of my thing here. Okay. So I'll post my submission too. So I'll say, hope you all have fun. Here's what we made on today's bootcamp. There we go. All right, great, everybody. So, I don't know if anyone else is planning on sending a screenshot, but I'll hang around for a couple minutes and talk a little bit before I turn the stream off. Or, yeah. So let me know if you're trying to take a screenshot or getting something ready and all that. And you know, I gotta be a real YouTuber as well at some point, you know, because I'm doing these streams and all. So before you all leave, don't forget to hit the like button as well, because that is nice, and lets the people around me know that people are actually enjoying these streams and I should keep doing them. It's a big help. Catherine, good point. So we have an open house here, January the 30th? January 30, right? We have an open house here at the school, so if you're curious about what we do and what the school is like, just come join us then, and I'll be there as well. I'll talk to you gladly. And they're always nice, so there'll be a presentation and we'll show off some of the stuff that we made at the school as well. So do come if you have any interest in the school and all that. And if there's nothing else, I will go home now because I'm tired, and I will probably eat something and sleep and all that. And it was fun staying here with you all today, and I hope you enjoyed our little stream here, and I hope you got something out of it. That's the whole point. And if there's nothing, then I will see you all again next time for the texturing bootcamp, and we'll be taking the model that we made today and put some colors on it and paint a little bit on it. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining me today. I'll see you all next time. Have a nice rest of your evening or morning or midday or whatever it is that you're doing or where you are. So bye bye everybody. See you.